Hey guys, made a video recently talking about working as an ALT in Japan, assistant language teacher, and there was a couple of things about that video that sort of rang a bell with another topic, and that was acting and modeling in Japan, because there's a lot of things that were mentioned in that video that were very similar to that other situation, right? So just a bit of background on it. Years ago, somebody I knew asked me if I wanted to do some work at NHK as an extra in a movie, and it sort of sounded fun. Yeah, try that. Let's do that. And it was before kids. So more free time and less money pressure. So yeah, I'll give that a go. So some of you might have seen there's videos on this a long time ago, but the first one was just as a background extra in a movie about, it was boring, it was about some foreign business in Japan. It was an NHK TV drama, and I just had to sit at a desk in the background of to make the company look international. There was a bunch of foreigners sort of spread around the room to make it look sort of international. And on that day, I talked to an assistant director, and we were sort of chatting a little bit, and I sort of got his attention. So later they did another movie about Saigon or Saipan. So it was about the last Japanese war criminal to be tried, and they needed some guards, supposedly American guards, but because the parts weren't speaking parts, it didn't matter. So that assistant director asked the casting agency to send me to that one. And then after that one, there was another one that was a sort of like a suspense movie, and the plot was that some assassin, the British Prime Minister was going to come to Japan, and some assassin was planning to kill him, to shoot him, and they actually got me to play the part of the British Prime Minister in that one. So it was a bit of fun, but the things that were in common with the ALT story was, first one is the pay was terrible, right? Usually you'd have to go to wherever the shoot was and be there all day, and I think the longest day was some of the Saigon or Saipan one were actually there for 18 hours. And the pay was like $80, $80 or something like that, 8,000 yen or something, and sometimes they'd pay a little bit extra for traveling, and it was just terrible. It was really, really bad. But myself and the other foreigners that were there doing it, it was sort of a bit of fun, see yourself on TV, and it was interesting too. I found it really interesting, the process, with the cameras and the audio and the directors and the whole process of making a movie was really interesting to be involved in, to see firsthand, So it was a bit of fun, but yeah, no money in it. So it got to a point where I was like, well, the novelty of being on TV a couple of times, I was like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And then slowly, of course, the YouTube videos were getting more popular, and they kept going on TV as well. So the whole being on TV thing was just wearing off. And then I said to the casting agency, look, I'm happy to keep doing it, but the traveling, travel by train or by car to these locations would cost, a fair bit of money. It could cost 5,000 or 6,000 yen. And then if you're there for 18 hours, you've got to go to convenience stores and buy food, and it just it was ridiculous, So eventually I said to them, look, by the time traveling money and food money and 18-hour days, $200 would be nice, and never heard from them again. So the reason is that we're just a face. Usually the parts they give to foreigners in these things usually aren't speaking parts. There's a couple of things we had to do where we were talking, but you couldn't hear us talking. So it was just, two dudes talking, and you couldn't hear us talking. So there was no script, there was no speaking parts. So they don't really care whether you who it is, whether you've got acting experience. A little bit. See, this is a similar thing with the ALT. You don't need experience, right? You don't need any experience at all to do it. The pay's terrible, right? You're just a face. And it's the same as the ALT thing, the assistant language teacher thing. You're just a voice speaking some English. That's all you are, you know? And it can be anybody. They don't care who it is. They don't care if you've got teaching experience. They don't care if you've got qualifications. And it's the same as the acting thing. They don't care if you've got acting experience. They don't care. They don't care. You're just a face. You're a foreign face, right? And so it's very similar to the ALT thing. It's entertainment. You know, there's a foreigner, you know. It's the entertainment value of the ALT thing. And the modelling's even more so, of course, because the modelling you don't have to do anything except stand there and they take a photo of you, you know, fisting in the air or looking at some book or, you know, talking to a student. Sometimes you see ECC and these other English schools here will have a picture of the teachers, and usually what they do is the front row will all be Japanese people, non-threatening, non-scary Japanese people, right? Just to show everybody that, you know, that it's not scary. You can come to our English school. It's not scary. Look, lots of the teachers are just Japanese people and not scary, non-threatening, usually female. And then maybe behind them, they might have one or two foreigners standing there smiling, looking non-threatening in the background, right? That's really common. Check out any photo of an English school in Japan. That's usually what you'll see. You know, the front row's the Japanese teachers, and then behind them is the foreigner. That's the token foreigners there, just to show that the English is legit, that we really do have some foreigners here as well, you know. And that's again, it's just a face. So, you know, if you wouldn't get a visa to do this for a start, because, you know, they're not going to sponsor a visa for you to come to Japan and do bit parts in movies and stuff. You're not going to get that. These agencies, these modelling agencies, they have hundreds and hundreds of foreigners on their books. Probably not so many at the moment because there's less foreigners in Japan because of the COVID thing. But you know, they've got hundreds and hundreds, and that's why I sort of knew when I said, look, you know, it's just not worth it. You know, I've got to go to the other side of the prefecture. One time I had to go to Kyoto, you know, and it's just not worth it. They'd pay you, if you had to go far, they'd usually pay you some travelling money, but, you know, the time, 18-hour days, you know, not hard work, of course, but just, you know, you're gone for 18 hours, and, you know, you could go and work in a conveni. You know, you could go and work in a convenience store and earn more than that. But you know, when I said to them, look, really I'd need $200 to make it worthwhile, or Niman it was, Niman N, and that was the end of me, because they've got hundreds of other faces they can use. You know, so if that director asked again for me, they would have said, oh, he's not available now, and they would have sent someone else. Because the way it works is the casting people pay you, and the movie people pay them. So, you know, they don't want to pay you more. And why would they? They can pay some other guy $80. Why would they pay me $200? You know, I'm not that interesting. So yeah. So look, similar story to the ALT thing. Basically, you know, the pay's low. You can't get a visa, at least with the ALT thing. Sometimes they'll either say you must already have a visa to get the job, or they'll say sponsorship available. If they're really desperate, they'll say sponsorship available, and they'll help you get the visa. But with the modelling and the acting thing, no chance. Unless you're Tommy Lee Jones or somebody like that, that they use for Tommy Lee Jones does their coffee ads. And again, he doesn't speak. He drinks the coffee, and there's lots of posters of Tommy Lee Jones drinking the coffee around Japan, and you'll sometimes see him on TV drinking the coffee and smiling at the camera, but he doesn't speak. It's just a face. So you know, but for normal people like us, they won't sponsor you. You won't get a visa to come and do that. So usually the people who do that are already here on other visas. They're here on a teaching visa, or they're here on a spouse visa, or a permanent residency, or citizenship. You know, foreigners have got Japanese citizenship, so something like that. So yeah, don't imagine using that one. And of course, you can't come to Japan on a tourist visa and work, so you couldn't do it on a tourist visa. So, you know, don't imagine that you can use this one to come to Japan on a visa, because that won't be the case. You'll have to get a visa some other way, and then once you're here, if you want to do this work, you know, you can go to one of the modelling agencies, and they'll put you on the books, and you know, you might get called to do something. So sometimes they actually ask you to what do they call, audition. I got asked to audition a couple of times and just said no, because they don't pay you for it. So again, you'd have to drive, you know, or take a train to somewhere really far away and spend a half a day at least auditioning for something, and then never get called again. So I used to just refuse to audition for stuff, you know, because it was just a bit of fun for me. As a bit of an extension to that too, you know, some of you might remember a video. I'll probably, if I think of it, I'll put the links to these videos in the comment section under this one. But another one was Cool Japan wanted to do a story on the Japan channel, and the idea was that they had a panel of foreigners there, and they wanted to show my videos to the foreigners and say, what do you think of this? Here's a video that this guy made about kotatsu, what do you think of that? And here's a video he made about the magic plastic chain, what do you think about that? And they contacted me and said, we want to do this with your Japan channel. Do you want to come to Tokyo and be on the show, you know, on the Uncool Japan, and on the Cool Japan? And the idea was I was supposed to sit out there with the presenters, and while they talked about the Japan channel, and then asked this bank of like 30 foreigners what they thought of my videos. And just as a side note, usually you can't be on Cool Japan unless you've been in Japan less than 12 months. That's their policy. If you find their website, they say, oh, we're always looking for foreigners. You know, here's the thing: if you want to be on Japanese TV and you've been in Japan less than a year, you can go on Cool Japan and be one of these people sitting there in the group, telling people how cool Japan is. But that's sort of the prerequisite, is you need to have been in Japan less than 12 months, because what they want is they want people that still have stars in their eyes. And they don't want someone like me that's going to go, yeah, Japan's fantastic, I love Japan, and then, you know, maybe mention something that's not cool. Except, Japan's wonderful, except for the job discrimination, or except for, you know, they don't want any of that. So you've got to have been in Japan less than 12 months and just sit there and talk about how wonderful Japan is. Because that's the premise of the show, Cool Japan. Let's talk about how cool Japan is. So they asked me to go to Tokyo and do that show, and I said no. I said, you can use, and you know, those of you who've seen the videos, I said you can use my videos, you can talk about my videos and talk about my channel, but I don't want to come there, right? Because you're entertaining. You know, that whole show is just making Japanese people feel good about Japan, which is great. And again, it's the same as the acting thing, the same as the model thing, the same as the ALT thing. You're entertaining Japanese people. All those jobs, that's all you're doing. Look at the interesting foreigner doing an interesting thing, right? Or in the Cool Japan case, all you're basically doing is saying how great Japan is, so that the Japanese people feel good about it, which again is great. And there'd be a lot of people listening to this thinking, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be great. Fantastic, you know. But for me, that feeling of being entertainment, you know, I mean, again, some people are very comfortable doing that. Some people like doing that, you know, it makes them feel good. But for me, it's just, the feeling is that just because I'm a foreigner, you know, I'm entertainment. And probably for some people when they first come to Japan, that's quite a novelty, you know. You feel like a bit of a celebrity, you feel a bit special because of the attention that you get. But you're not really getting attention. The fact that you're a foreigner might get some attention. It's not you, right? It's not you. It's the same. Everything I've talked about, the ALT thing, the modelling thing, the acting thing, it's none of it is about you. You're just a face, you know. And the ALT thing, if you're doing that job and you quit, they'll just get another person who can speak English to replace you. You know, you tell the modelling agency you want more money, they'll just get another face to replace you because you're just a foreigner. That's what you're being employed as a foreigner, to entertain Japanese people. You know, which again is great. That's fantastic. And some people love this. I know a couple of guys here who love this. They love being entertaining. You know, they love being entertaining. And if that's your character, then you're gonna love being in Japan, because you've got lots of opportunities to do that. You know, where you can be the sort of the party guy or the entertaining guy and entertain people. Yeah, lots of opportunities to do that in Japan. You know, center of attention if you want to be. You know. So it depends on your personality type. But again, the idea of these videos, and that's what sort of triggered the ALT video, and then that video triggered this video, because as I was doing the ALT video, I kept thinking about the acting thing, because it was the same. It was the same story, basically. It's the same job. It's almost the same job. And in fact, that guy said, that American guy that was trying to get me to do the ALT work, he said, if you like acting, you'll love this job. And that helped trigger this video too, because it was like, yeah, that's basically, he was saying he's been in ALT for 20 years, and he said it's like acting, is basically what he was saying. If you like acting, you'd like being an ALT. So, you know, so the idea of these videos is, I know there'll be some people listening to this that'll be going, yeah, that'd be great, I'd love to do that. Excellent, you know, that is an idea for you. And there'll be other people going, oh geez, I don't think I'd like that, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. And if that's the case, well, it's good you know that. You know, over the last 10 years, there's been lots of videos that I've made about different topics that people have said, oh geez, you know, I'd like to go to Japan for a holiday, but, you know, having heard this, I don't think I'd like to live there. And that's a sort of a good thing. Because there's a really high statistic of people who come to Japan on a 12-month visa and go home before the 12 months is finished. I can't remember what it is, but it's pretty high. There's a lot of people who come with the intention of staying for a year and then go home early because it's just not what they thought it would be. And so we're trying to save people from that hassle, you know, by telling you the whole story. So anyway, that's more than enough of that. More videos coming soon.